Now, our resident microbiologist from Neutrog, Dr. Uwe, wants to talk about controlling nematodes using soil fungi. Now, listen up, because a lot of you ring me about trying to control nematodes using all sorts of weird concoctions and also some very dangerous chemicals. Well, you can do it much more safely. Good morning, Uwe.
Oh, hi, Graham. Yes, I guess the last few weeks the theme has all been about soil pathogens, so I really wanted to continue to talk about this, in this case, nematodes. Now, obviously, nematodes are roundworms. They're very small, almost microscopic worms, and surprisingly, the majority of them are actually really beneficial, so they help to break down organic matter, and some even control insects. But there's one group that are real troublemakers, and those are those nematodes which attack and feed on the roots. And when their numbers explode, then the damage to the roots results in losses in your vegetable patch. It can kill young plants and stress older plants, so they become actually more prone to disease.
Yeah, I've had it twice in 32 years in my veggie garden, and they're really nasty. You end up losing your crop. So how can we control these the nasty nematodes?
Well, they're obviously these chemical solutions you just spoke about to fumigate your soil. Unfortunately, these chemicals are really toxic, and they kill all the other soil inhabitants. And the other method is what can be called Solarization, which is really effective in vegetable gardens. You dig over the soil, and then you cover it in that black plastic, and then you basically let the heat of the sun cook the soil. Again, it pretty much kills everything, but it only works in hot conditions in the middle of summer. But there is actually a biological solution, and that's fungi that eat nematodes. So there's about 300 different fungi that essentially feast on nematodes.
Wow.
Yeah, so some destroy the nematodes' eggs, others grow into the mouth of the nematodes and digest them from the inside out. But the most interesting are those that form traps using sticky pads and lassos. So once those nematodes get stuck there, they get digested by those fungi.
Lassos. Now, why do fungi do this, and how do you encourage these good fellows in your soil?
Well, for the fungi, the nematode represents a meal of protein. So, in fact, nitrogen as a nutrient. So when you're using very high nitrogen-based fertilizers, especially some of those chemical fertilizers, the fungi actually switches off that nematode killing system. And this is because they're getting all the nitrogen they need for free. So when you're using these types of fertilizers, you can actually make your nematode problem worse. So what's been found is that if you use low levels of a slower release nitrogen, provided by things like Seamungus or WhoFlungDung, and even Gyganic, it actually stimulates those fungi to produce these traps, and therefore helps to control the nematodes. Now, obviously, you have to add organic matter to your soil to encourage the diversity of microbes in your soil to start with, to make sure those nematode-eating fungi are present. So you can see there is actually a solution that's environmentally friendly. It feeds your soil, and at the same time, it feeds your plants as well.
I got to say, I've been using a lot of Seamungus over the cooler months, over the last month, I suppose, this particular month of May, and the mulching of the WhoFlungDung. I use the Gyganic on the fruit trees, and they're looking great. So, yeah, it's a good balance. So using organics, listeners, and all those inputs like Seamungus, WhoFlungDung, yep, it's a great mulch, and it can help with nematode control. Who would have thought that? Also making your vegetable patch productive and keeping your other plants healthy as well. Seamungus and WhoFlungDung are, of course, available at Bunnings, other hardware outlets, and all good garden centres. Thank you, Uwe. That's a really lovely story. I like that. Organic control for nematodes. We don't need to use those nasty gases. Love it.
No worries, Graham. Have a fantastic week.
You too, pal. Cheers. Coming up right after